good evening, everyone. I am David Morgan, Arlington's environmental planner and conservation agent. The January 16, 2025 public meeting of the Arlington Conservation Commission shall be conducted in a hybrid format. Remote participation is consistent with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, which extended remote participation in public meetings until the end of March this year. The meeting is being recorded and the recording will be made publicly available. I'm going to put a link into the chat now where you can find all of the meeting materials. Please note that the Zoom chat feature may be used for questions and comments that contribute to the Commission's procedures. If it's used otherwise, the chair may disable it at his discretion. Public comment period will follow each hearing. Conservation Commission encourages attendees to ask questions, offer comments during the public comment period. Chuck Taroni is our Commission Chair. He'll facilitate tonight's meeting. Each vote taken during the meeting will be conducted via roll call vote, and we start with a review of the agenda and attendance. Chuck, what's us off?
Thank you, David. Well, welcome everyone to the January 16, 2025 Conservation Commission meeting. First, just go through the agenda real quickly. We have some updates to our meeting schedule for 2025. And I just think we'll just mention correspondence. We have a certificate of compliance for 1165 R Massachusetts Ave. We'll be reviewing the easement and making comments on an enforcement order to an enforcement order for 335 Mystic Street, enforcement order for 40 Park Ave. We'll just have an update. We'll talk about the water bodies working group budget, and then from our liaison CPA tree committee, we'll have some updates. We will also discuss the term of the vice chair and to see if there's to take a vote on someone either taking over that position or continuing in that position for another year. And I'll explain more about that when we get to that point. And we have one hearing tonight, and it's Thorndike Place. This hearing will start after all of the administrative and discussion issues. So at least 40 minutes or so from now. And with that, I'll take a roll call vote. Mike Gildersgang.
Present.
Daniel Stevens. Susan Chapnick.
Present.
David White.
Here.
David Kaplan.
Present.
Brian McBride.
Present.
Chuck Taroni is here. Associate members Sarah Alfaro Franco.
Present.
And Eileen Pullman.
Present.
Great.
Is your name up there? No, these are the people.
And we'll just move to our first agenda item, that's the 2025 meeting schedule. And so we edited a couple of dates on this, and those dates were June 26th, 10th, July 24th. Each of those were moved up 1 week. So we have June 26th, as I mentioned, July 10th instead of July 4th, and July 24th. And then we're down to October, and the October meeting was moved up 1 week, or both meetings in October were moved up 1 week. So we have October 9th and October 23rd to approve. I think those are all the changes, but commissioners should look at the entire schedule just to make sure we didn't miss any and make comments on that.
And Chuck, those changes were already incorporated in the document that was on the.
That was sent. Yeah, I got this from the drive.
Got it.
Hearing no comments, can I get a vote?
I'm sorry. I don't have the list with me and I just want to make sure it's right. So I'm just checking it. Give me 1 second. Thank you. That looks good, thank you.
All right, okay, so, hearing no comments, can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve the revised schedule of meetings for 2025.
Second.
Second one, Bill Biscayne. Nathaniel Stevens,
Nathaniel, we lost your audio.
okay, moving on to David White,
Yes.
David Kaplan,
Yes.
Ryan McBride,
Yes.
Mike Gildersgame,
Yes.
and Susan Chapnick,
Yes,
and Chuck Teroni says yes. Okay. This is correspondence received, so I'm just gonna give the usual correspondence received is available at the public, and for a full list, contact Conservation Administrator David Morgan at the link. Did you provide that?
Yeah.
At the link provided in the chat, or if you have any issues downloading that or seeing those that correspondence, please reach out to David Morgan at the office. Is there anything else? Back to the agenda, and we have discussion items. So I'm gonna take the chair's privilege, and I'm gonna move up enforcement order for 335 Mystic Street. And I'm going to, so David's going to, so I think what we should do, are you Louisa?
yes.
Okay, so we're just gonna set this up and we're gonna look at some pictures and then we're gonna get a site visit report from Susan Chapnick and probably a little bit more from David here, and then we'll have you talk, okay? So just a few minutes. Okay, so we're gonna start out by looking at some pictures. I think they'll be narrated by Susan Chapnick. Is that correct, Susan?
Sure, with David, because we had a previous site.
Yeah.
Visit notes.
And we put them in order. Those are the ones that Sarah had put together. Okay. So, enforcement. So, sir, it's an open meeting. We can't shut the door. Sorry about that.
Just a brown noise.
I know. Maybe we can tell them.
So the
Maybe
Conservation
they-
Commission was aware of the clearing of trees in the Ora, which is 100 feet from the edge of the pond. Because it was noticed on the MLS listing. The homeowner has joined us tonight to discuss this matter. Let's start with a quick review of the site visit from Susan and David. And then we'll take on some other issues. I think that site visit, was it November 1st? I'm not sure.
Do you have the date of the visit, David?
Oh,
Is it in there?
yeah. So November 1st was the 2013 was a previous notice of non-compliance about some construction activity. And for some earth moving and construction within 100 feet. So this had happened a few years ago, more than 10. And like I said, this was noticed just through an MLS listing when the house was listed. So if we can just move to those pictures now. No?
My computer's hung up, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get.
So Susan, maybe you could just kind of walk us through it. There's no
Oh,
pictures
okay.
available at this moment.
Okay, I don't know that I have, I might be able to get the pictures, but
I do have.
They're on the drive, yeah.
they're on.
It's just slow going.
Okay. All right, so I can start and then you can
Yes.
put the picture. Okay, so the site visit, I'm trying to remember when it was. Because I forgot to bring my notes, but I believe it was in November. Is it in November? Do you remember, Sarah? Okay. Anyway, it was in the fall. And David and I went on a site visit and we were allowed entry. We had talked with the realtor and with you, who gave us permission to go on site, even if nobody was there. So we just walked around the back. Okay, so here's some pictures. So just to show what the site looks like. So this is up, the site at the back of the house has part of a flat area and then a very steep slope down to Mystic Lake, and that's Mystic Lake there. And this is the flatter area here. And you can see everything was cut, though things are growing back. You see the stand in the background, though that's a stand of sumac, which looks like it encroached, it actually was on the property as well. That's the property line. So these are just showing some pictures of the characteristic of the site. If you could go to the next one. Oops. Okay, so this one is showing you the steep slope down to Mystic Lake. And the place I'm standing, you can see me right there on the corner, on the left-hand corner, was that flat area I was talking about before, which has some vegetation, a little bit of vegetation on it. And then the very steep slope looked like it was Japanese knotweed. That was recently cut down, and that's the steep slope down to Mystic Lake. The next picture. It's going very slowly, huh?
Yep.
Okay. This is a part of the site again, looking down towards Mystic Lake with the house behind us. It's just showing that there is a bunch of construction debris, cement blocks and asphalt and things like that were dumped on the site. The right-hand side where you see part of a fence, that's the fence line between the two properties. Next. Sure. And this is showing just one of the stumps that's cut. This was sumac. Most of the sumac has several trunks. It's multi-stem, multi-trunk. And you can see vegetation growing back as well.
There's a little guy back there that they missed.
Oh, yeah.
Those are all pictures.
Okay. So that's just giving a sense of what the site looks like for those who didn't get on site at that time.
Okay, anything else to add? Sarah, do you have anything to add to this?
No, none, that has not been mentioned already.
Okay, so Louisa, it looks like, there's been a previous letter sent out in 2013. And so I assume you're aware of the town's regulations, wetland regulations, and it looks like it's for a different matter. But although some of the stuff that was mentioned in this letter in 2013 hasn't been corrected yet, I was wondering if you could speak about that, which would be
What 2013, what you're talking? I know I see the 2013, but I don't remember getting any letter on that.
Yeah,
It's
so
like debris from construction debris.
yeah, so that picture that showed
That picture was done in June.
recently, yeah.
It was just trimming the knotweed.
There was a picture of dirt with concrete mixed in with it, and we would call that construction debris. Also, it's absence of organic matter, and that's why there's nothing growing on top of it. So it must have come from some sort of digging or excavation. So that I'm just linking the two together. So in my mind, they're connected, but you may have a different explanation. So we're here for the we're going to call it clear cutting of the slope, and it had to do with an invasive species called Japanese knotweed and sumac. And so I was wondering if you would take it from there and just let us know your thoughts. And it doesn't have to involve the Wetlands Protection Act, but just what you, the reasons why you did the work would probably be great to know.
Okay. Well, I've lived in Arlington for over 50 years, and I want to cooperate with the Conservation Commission. And I'm very, I know about the lake, and I know the rules about the lake, and I don't want the shoreline being exterminated in any way. I've even, when I see the bald eagles, I call the Audubon Society and tell them where they're spotted. So I'm involved with that, and I don't like to do anything against that. But what I was selling the house, and the knotweed, if you know knotweed, it's very invasive. And years ago, I had called on that, and I'm talking years ago, and they said I could trim knotweed. I didn't even pull knotweed out. I trimmed it. That was back in June. I have a picture here of what it looked like in October. I don't know. how we can show that. Everything that I trimmed has grown back.
So this is what the slope looks like now.
Right. Well, October, now it's bigger
Can I
than
pass
that.
this around?
Yeah. Sure.
So, yeah, it looks like it looks like it's growing back in.
It's all growing the same that it was before I trimmed it.
Yeah, so what we're looking at is is the slope, and it looks like it's greened up. The vegetation on
Can
the
someone
slope.
show it, point it to us, maybe Sarah
Sure.
or Susan? So we
There's
can
another
maybe see it
photo under
at the
that one,
camera?
too. You can scroll, there's
But
two of them.
can you see it? I don't
Yeah,
know.
thank you. That's helpful. Yep, thanks.
Okay.
So it looks like the vegetation on the slope is greened up. It looks like it's 4 to 6 inches high. I didn't see anything.
And that was in October, and there's another photo, I don't know if it's done.
That makes sense because when we went, it was after the vegetation would have died off for the winter. Because knotweed's not, it doesn't stay around for winter, does it? I mean,
No, usually.
no. So the pictures that I showed, I think were after that and it
No, it
didn't
was
show,
before that.
really?
It
Yes.
stays around in
It
a
was
brittle
before that.
stem
I think you were out
that
and,
breaks.
I'm trying to think the date that you were out, David.
I
you
have
had
it
called
here,
me,
it's,
And,
18th of November.
It was November. So I
It's
think the
probably
pictures I
July.
showed, yeah, it was just, I mean, it was like this high and it was brown because it's winter and lost its leaves. So I agree with you that it is growing back.
This is recent, this is the most recent picture of the hill so far. This is in October.
No, the ones I showed were November, but that's
November.
okay.
This is when it grew back. Wait a minute. When did
It
you
did
take
grow
these
back. I'm
photos?
agreeing with you. Yeah.
When you had your,
Yeah, so it might die.
I have
off.
garage
I
sale.
know it died off
Picture of
after,
the
but I'm
garage
saying it makes sense. It dies off after. So if you took a picture now, it would be brown. That's
There's
okay.
another one.
Yeah,
That's, yeah.
so,
Oh, here's
you
the-
can't see the sumac so well in these pictures, but we did see a picture from Susan that showed a sumac cutting, but with 2 saplings growing next to it. So it seems like it sprouted at least in
I
that
know
area.
nothing was pulled
Mhm.
off the ground. It was just the trim because that knotweed can grow really high
Yeah,
and wanted to be able to see the lake.
all right. And the reason why you cut that down is because you didn't want it to extend? You said it's very
Well, it
invasive, so
keeps
it keeps.
growing higher. And I figured just cutting it down, I'm not taking off the root, that's not gonna affect the shoreline.
Hmm,
So cutting it down, just trimming it to have a better view of the lake.
that's true.
My house was for sale.
Okay, any questions from the commission?
So I understand the knotweed. It also looks like there was a lot of trimming done above the knotweed, closer to that other structure that you have in the back of the house. I don't know what you call that other structure.
I'll call it a
Oh.
bungalow.
It's another house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like there was cutting up to there too. That was, I think sumac.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know they were just told to trim the knotweed, and
Okay.
that's what they did.
Okay.
I didn't go down there.
Right,
because
so
I
they
couldn't
may
get
have
down
gone a
there.
little further
Yeah.
than you had
About a year
intended them
ago,
to
I broke
do.
my 2 ankles, so I couldn't go, that's why I couldn't meet you that day to go down there.
Okay.
Nathaniel? Oh, sorry. Yeah, Nathaniel.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I'm just, who can I send a photo to who's up? David Morgan?
David Morgan. Okay. Do you want to wait for a few minutes and I'll have Brian?
Yeah, thanks. Yep, go.
So just wondering, did you hire a contractor to do the cutting?
My gardener,
Your gardener? Okay.
my gardener.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really cut trees. He's not equipped. He has his men work with machetes and they just trim.
And did they use any chemicals?
No, never. They're not allowed to do that. I know that.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not ever allowed to do that.
How often have you maintained the slope in this fashion over the years? And what's the separation between when you do this and then you'll hit it again?
Well, I did it now because I had the house on the market. It would just be.
And
a better
otherwise you've
fit.
left it alone?
I've left it alone because I couldn't afford to do it. It's expensive, even just trimming that. the knockweed.
Okay. Now we're still waiting for that, to come in. No, you just got it. See what this looks like. And Nathaniel, please, when it comes up, just start speaking.
Sure, thanks. No, I'm just sending, it is not critical to my comments. It is the listing that I'd found. Took a screenshot from the Zillow listing, which just shows it's another view of the extent of the cutting. I think our jurisdiction goes up to, if I'm not mistaken, to about where the pool, where that lower house is on the slope. But it does show that the extent of vegetation on the abutting lots and things. And I guess the question for the homeowner is, if you know the rules and regulations, why did you not come to the Conservation Commission to seek permission before doing this cutting?
What did he say? I'm sorry.
Why didn't you come to see us before you did the cut?
I thought that was okay. I've done it before. And I had been in touch with conservation many years ago when it started to, once in a while I would do that. And it was Corey Becker, I had told you, it was a while ago. And she said, you can't cut anything that's a tree or so, but you can, the knockweed, Arlington hates knockweed because it's so invasive, and to trim that down. And I didn't pull it out, I just trimmed it down.
Did she, was this verbally, or was there an email or a letter?
I have letters from her, but I don't even know if I still have them. This was a long time ago.
I do recall you attending one of our meetings about 10 or 15 years ago, and we did explain our jurisdiction. I don't believe that Corey would have said just willy-nilly go ahead and cut something. We do require, other people have knotweed issues on their properties around the pond, around the lakes and around the ponds. They do come to us and apply before they do any cutting or vegetative management plan. So I think the commission should hold you to the same standard as we hold other homeowners in the town. That's just my position on this.
The letter from 2013, I don't have it in front of me. Did it say anything about, any restoration?
No,
No.
it just says come to the Conservation Commission. Oh, there was two options. Submit a plan or show up.
Because I thought there was some letter now, was this the only, notice of non-compliance, or was there another one?
Well,
I thought
this
there was
is
one
what-
letter which said to plant trees down by the.
Well,
This is
I think
Daniel
it's,
said.
we're dealing with a current enforcement matter. I don't think we need to try to resurrect and reconstruct the past enforcement matters only to the, I think those are instructive only as to show that the property owner had knowledge about what our jurisdiction is, has knowledge what our rules and regulations are. So I'm finding this to be a little bit of a willful violation.
Mhm.
I don't know what the motivation is, or just desire to ignore the rules. But again, I don't think we want to treat this lightly, as we do require, and other property owners along the lake who also care about the lake manage to come and talk to us, file the appropriate application, get a permit for this type of work.
Mhm. Thank you.
So Nathaniel, understanding that the Japanese knotweed will grow back, I think is something that I've stated at past meetings. Are you focusing on the should write that. Those trees.
It's back on the
Yes, sumac. Yeah. Are you focusing on the sumac area, or is it
I think in general, I mean, any plan to cut this amount of vegetation, invasive or not, requires a permit from us, a plan, a plan of action about how to deal with this. I mean, what's going to happen next year? Are they just going to cut it down? Does the property owner know the appropriate time to cut Japanese knotweed? Is this the best invasive species management approach? I mean, we require other property owners to come in and have a concerted plan informed by the science and even an arborist or landscaper. And here we're just allowing a property owner to willy-nilly chop at their whim and when they feel is best or for review. And I just don't think that's the approach we've condoned with other property owners around in Arlington, let alone around the lake or Spy Pond.
I agree
So
with
I'd
Nick.
expect to have them
Yeah.
come in with after the fact application, or we deal with it through an enforcement order to have some sort of restoration. I don't think restoration is just allowing the invasives to grow back up. I think there needs to be further consequence.
Having seen the site, it is challenging. And I do understand that the heavy infestation of Japanese knotweed on this hill. And I do agree that it's stable because it was cut and not pulled. However, we're still affecting wildlife habitat. So even if you have an invasive, it's still wildlife habitat for the wildlife that comes up, the turtles that come up, or, the small mammals, the muskrats, anything that comes up from the water or is on the bank or the shore, it's still using that as cover and habitat, even if we don't, even though we know it's invasive. So I think we want some kind of restoration, whether it be restoration more on the top of the bank, which I think might be more fruitful at this point, because I don't think you're gonna get anything to grow where the Japanese knotweed is. Maybe up where the slope levels out closer to that second house, is an area that could be, replanted with natives, or let natives grow and not cut, so that we can have a restoration area, and then maybe remove the construction debris, because that would allow just natural ground cover to grow in places it couldn't grow on the site. Those are some recommendations.
I don't know what the construction debris is. I've never had any construction down there.
Mhm.
If you see like a piece of cement there, it's around that whole house. And the pool used to be, relatives lived in the second house next door. So we were all one family.
Mhm.
And that was the house and that was the pool. Now the house is sold to somebody else. So my side just has the house. He has the pool.
But your side has two houses, right?
Hmm?
Your side has two
It has
houses?
we used to call it a summer house.
A summer house, okay. So down from the summer house, if you
Yeah,
could
there's
put that
cement
picture up.
there.
Mhm.
That used to be cement all around the pool, going from that house, around the house, all the way to the pool. And then weeds were growing up through the cement. It was block cement,
Mhm.
blocks.
Mhm.
And now there's an area that it's like flat, but I don't fix anything down there. Just can't afford to do it right now.
Yeah.
So it looked like construction debris to me, because there's asphalt and things, and I'm not talking about near the pool, I'm talking about on the other side.
Right.
Okay,
So I
so
don't,
we're gonna get a picture of that.
yeah.
Are there any other commissioners that want to add to this discussion? Anyone
I
here?
think it's like the fourth, maybe it's the fourth.
Sure, Susan, hold on.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyone here who would like to add to the conversation?
I just,
Sure.
I just thought I'd add a little sympathy for the homeowner, because this is an invasive species, and maybe it's reasonable that they might think this is something they could take down. But maybe I'm a little more sympathetic than the fact.
Sounds like they got some direction, although it can't be.
Yeah, we can't quite prove that, right?
Can't prove that.
Well, we could call Corey.
Sure.
But anyway, if you look at this picture, I don't know if you can make it bigger, but you can see right in the center, this is all construction debris. This is asphalt, these are cement blocks, these are broken asphalt. So this isn't natural ground cover. This is ground cover and things that have been cut, but this is not. This whole area, it's a fairly large area, down from what's called the summer house. And like I'm sorry. As I mentioned before, those were blocks that were going down. So maybe they lifted but no construction has been going down there. You can see the house, no construction was down there.
Yeah.
And I have nothing.
So this is just a broken
Broken.
cement and pathway that used to exist?
It was a big area and it was all the blocks, the cement blocks. But after years, if you don't do anything, it gets to look like that.
So do you still own this property?
Yes, I do.
All right, so it looks like, we've heard from Nathaniel and Susan, and I agree, so.
David.
Oh, Dave, do you have your hand? Oh, you can't see it because it's recording right there where his hand is. Okay, David, please speak up.
Okay,
You ready?
Hello, I just want to note that the neighbor to the north had a very similar situation a number of years ago and did a very nice restoration in their property. And we approved that about 10, 15 years ago. So there's precedence here for doing something to make that slope better.
Okay.
Can I ask a
Sure.
question? So how long has the area downslope been cleared and it's just now
Just
grown?
June, last
But prior to that, you said you,
maybe, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I don't even know, more than that. It's expensive to do that, and I haven't been able to do it.
not the last time that you had it
Yeah,
cleared,
I
but
know,
like
the time
initial
before
time.
that. I don't even remember, could have been 3 years before,
So
I don't even,
it just occurred to me while we were talking that the, see if I can pull that up. The image that Nathaniel had us looking at. All right, so the vegetation on either side, those are some really mature trees. Those are probably 30 years old on the southern side, and I'm guessing probably around 15 years old. Or David's on the
the one over
northern
there,
side. Yeah.
he hasn't cut anything since he moved in.
So
And there's a pool under those trees.
yeah, I see that. The that area was initially cleared some time ago, and prior to that, it would have looked more like the left edge of this picture. So I think that initial activity, whenever those trees were taken out, is when the Japanese knotweed was able to take hold. And so it precipitated there being this invasive species because it was initially cleared out. It was probably just left, bare, and then it was colonized, and now you have a extensive invasive species problem on your hands. So I offer that for context because I think this picture tells a bit more of the story, sort of it gives the history of the site in a clearer way. And it's not just about the current state. So was this land where the brown patch is, was that clear when you moved into the house?
Well, my family were living there since the early 50s. And they did a lot of work, rules were different, then they could do a lot of stuff, and, and now everything's a little tighter with conservation and the shoreline.
Sure.
But they had it looking beautiful all the time, but when my father passed away and I bought the house, I couldn't do what he did. I just could do the best that I could, and I did call the commission, and they told me the knotweed so invasive that I could trim it. And I know I can't take any trees down. As long as I remember living in this house, and I lived there before I was married, there was knotweed down there. As long as I can remember, it's always been there.
All right, thanks.
All right. So it looks like we're going to ask for a restoration plan, and these are and I would suggest that we keep this in the enforcement order unless I hear an objection. We're going to ask for a restoration plan, and so this is not suggest you reach out and find someone who can help you put this together, but you don't have to do that. But we are going to give you a date and when we need this. So what we would like is that the area that's been cut down where the sumac is, for you to come up with some plants to repopulate that area. And if you don't like the height of the sumac, you could look into shrubs and do that. And as far as the sumac goes, I think talking to someone would be a good idea, because you could replace that upper section pretty easily. But the lower section, that's a Japanese knotweed. If you brought in someone who had some experience, I think maybe just leaving it alone and having it restore itself and removing the construction debris, which we showed you on the screen, would be something that at least I would find myself getting behind. I'm not sure. That's my suggestion. If anyone wants to add to it, please do it at this time.
I would just say I would not be opposed if the restoration plan included an invasive species management plan, say for the Japanese knotweed. I would encourage that to be a component of it. Again, seek do some research online or hire an expert who can tell you what the best time of year is to manage that, so, quote unquote, treat it, cut it. Cutting it, maybe herbicides are needed as well in some instances, but you really need to get someone in there to examine it because it is aggressive and it grows quickly.
So a management plan will allow you to do what you're doing, cutting it and opening up the view. But you'll have a permit to do it, and so you'll have the approval of the Conservation
If I
Commission.
ever do that.
If you
Yeah, I
have a
don't
management
plan
plan,
on doing anything.
so that's what we mean by a management plan. That will allow you to cut the knotweed with the permission of the Conservation Commission. You have to go and seek a professional to do that.
Right.
And they would also incorporate some planting of native plants at the top of the slope. So,
You mean that I would have to do now?
no, you can't do it now. The only thing we're
Well,
asking
I
for
mean-
now is the management plan.
Okay, can I
Yes.
just say something?
Sure thing.
I don't have the means to do anything right now with that land. My house is going back on the market next month. It was on the market, I took it off because of the holidays and everything. And I don't have the means to do any, I live there by myself,
Okay, well,
so that's an issue.
so the commission is still going to update the enforcement order was it an enforcement order?
Yeah.
We're gonna update the enforcement order with some dates on it, and violations go with the property. So the one person that buys the house, I would suggest you inform them, because they're gonna own this situation.
That they can't do anything.
Know that
with
they
it.
have to restore it.
Well, that's not so good.
No.
I swear.
The violation goes with the property, so you can't just sell and walk away.
It's kind of like if you had a roof that need to be refinished. And you can decide if you want to do that before you sell your house, or you want to disclose that to the new owner that they have to put a
Right.
new roof on. It's the
But I
same
feel
thing.
like it's a little
Yeah.
different than that, because I was told that I could trim down, I didn't remove anything. I didn't cut trees, I didn't do anything.
If you can
And
find.
if you can see by this picture, everything looks like the way it was before. I have 2 photos here.
Mhm.
And I didn't do anything. To me, that was wrong. And I don't understand why I'm gonna be penalized for this. It's just not fair.
Well, our regulations have changed in the past 10, 15 years as well. So we've tightened our definition as to what can be trimmed and what can't be trimmed and things. So rules change. So that's just the fact of the matter is. And I echo my colleagues to say that this will be an enforcement matter. So if you don't deal with it, we have the right to bring.
We
Lost your audio again.
Sorry, we have the right to bring it up with the new property owner
Just maybe, I wonder what helps.
if you don't resolve it beforehand or get the process going.
I would it would help to give the homeowner a sense of the scale of a project like this. So if I hear this right, I think we're talking about basically leaving the knotweed as is in the bottom part of the slope, but managing it.
No, it's a two-step process. We want to see a management, a restoration plan that's going to include a management plan for the knotweed. Then the Conservation Commission will review it and approve it, and then action can happen.
Yeah.
This may be less work than you think. I would suggest that you look to find some counsel as far as invasive management companies or just wetland consultants to help you with this. Or maybe your landscaper / gardener can help find someone, or they may have some background in what we're looking for. But a management plan would come with a narrative, probably a plan also, demarcating the areas where you're going to do work, and then noting each species that you're going to plant to restore the area.
Do you have any thumbnail sketch, Chuck, of how many shrubs you might have to plant on the top line?
I don't. We're not gonna design the plan for them. I mean, this has been 40 minutes. We're at a point of just finishing this off.
Yeah.
I think
it's helpful.
we've given advice, and this next step to get into the detail about what needs to happen, that'll come from someone she hires.
I would say that, on our site visit, did we have an estimate of the area? Can we give her an estimate of the square area we were talking about that looked like it was, available for restoration?
8,500 square feet.
Yeah.
Roughly 6,000 where the knotweed is growing, 2,500 at the top of the hill where the sumac is growing.
So what we're talking about is a plan from a professional who says, this is how you'll manage the knotweed on the slope, and this is how you'll restore the 2,500 square feet on the area that's above the slope next to the summer house.
Yeah, see, I don't know what
I
that
don't
looks
think
like.
it's gonna be as
Certainly could be like a
extensive.
3-foot wide strip from one
Yeah.
side to the other,
Yeah,
and you
it's
could just
not gonna
put
be-
something in there. So you're gonna be able to speak with your consultant. And based on how much you want to put into it is how this thing will be crafted. But the slope area, which is Japanese knotweed, the management plan we're not asking you to plant that. We're asking you to write down how you want to maintain it every year or every 3 years. And we'll review that to make sure it's done in a way that it won't alter the resource area. Okay? So, would you
Well,
like to say
what
something?
about this photo here that shows everything's grown over? They don't have that photo.
That's right, and that's the
They should
Japanese
see that.
knotweed area.
They should see what it looks like now or before.
So everything might grow back in, and your consultant
Well,
might say, this is my recommendation, stand back and let it grow back in. And that's what you'll bring back to the Conservation Commission. I don't think they'll say that, but that could be a possibility. I mean, like I said, you're gonna be talking to that person. But we need to react after this meeting to a plan and a sketch of that hillside with how you're going to repopulate it.
So can I offer a suggestion too? Just listening to the scope of the enforcement order, I'm curious what the commission would think if it seems that the majority, if I'm understanding this correctly, the majority of the steep slope was Japanese knotweed. And so because we're not necessarily, we're not requesting restoration of that area. It's likely going to grow back on its own. And if she's selling the property soon, I guess I'm curious. I'm not 100% certain that a management plan would get passed along to the next homeowner. Would it make sense then to sort of focus the enforcement order on the restoration of that 2,500 square feet of upper shelf to replace some of the native sumac that was lost, or with something else of high habitat value, and include the removal, which Chuck, I think I heard you mention, but I wanted a clarification if we're going to include that, the removal and sort of restoration of soil and planting of that construction debris dump area. So I guess what I'm asking the commission to consider is that if we need to have a Japanese knotweed management plan associated with this enforcement order, or if we can sort of stick to a restoration plan for the upper shelf.
Sure, I'm gonna turn to Nathaniel right now.
Thanks, David. Good comments. I had suggested the invasive removal plan, Japanese knotweed plan, as an optional component of the restoration plan. I wasn't necessarily requiring it, but I think my point was that the Japanese knotweed cannot be touched again unless there is an approved Conservation Commission invasive management plan or a management plan for that. So it should be clear to the property owner that that is not to be touched again, no matter what. Clearly, if the next owner, we don't know when that owner is going to be. We don't know how quickly the property is going to sell, et cetera, et cetera. If that next owner wants to come in and propose something else, they certainly have the right to do that.
Okay,
But yeah,
thank
good.
you.
Sure. Thanks. And I also too had the question about how much we were dealing with the construction debris. That was something Chuck had pointed out that I hadn't thought of. So that'd be good to clarify as well. Thanks.
I'm looking to the commission to make a motion, but I would tell you that whatever's underneath it is organic, and as long as I remove it, and we're talking about Japanese knotweed anyways, you don't have to worry about replanting it. So it seems like it'll take care of itself. No, Brian, I cut you off before, and we've taken on a whole new conversation. So please,
But
I
I like the
might as
direction.
well let you.
Yeah, no, I like this
jump
direction. I
in.
think it's a little more sympathetic. That basically the message would be, you may be able to leave the bottom steep hill alone and let the restoration happen naturally. You would have to address the construction debris and the replanting of the top shelf. That seems more balanced to
Yeah.
the offense.
I mean, I'm not sure if you're catching all this, but it's, so the commission absolutely wants two things to happen: to remove the construction debris and replant the upper area just before the slope. And then there's two steps now, and you can decide what you want to do. And I don't think getting a management plan is going to cost all that much for Japanese knotweed. But you can decide to maintain Japanese knotweed by cutting it down every year or every 3 years. So you would need a management plan, but you're going to sell it. So maybe that's not needed. But the enforcement order is going to say, do not touch it without a management plan. So that means the next person that buys the house is going to be very aware of this enforcement order, and they're going to know these plantings have to stay and they can't touch the Japanese knotweed. But that never means they can't hire a professional, come up with a plan, and come back to the commission and get that slope looking exactly how they want. Okay? All right. So anyone
I just,
Yeah.
well, I just let them know they can't do it or whatever.
without a permit, just say,
Oh, yes, I
yeah,
understand.
talk to David
that-
Morgan about a landscape plan.
Right.
There's a couple of people on either side of you that has come into the commission and they've done landscaping
Right.
plans, yeah.
I'd like to make a motion.
I'm not gonna touch the hill at all. 'Cause,
But you're still gonna be required to come in with a management plan.
the management
No,
plan.
with the
No,
restoration. plan.
restoration plan.
I'll
We're
make a
getting our
motion.
terms
Listen to
confused.
the motion.
Yeah, okay.
Can I make a motion to amend the existing enforcement order to require the submittal of a restoration plan, which can, as an option, include if the property owner wants an invasive species management plan, but the restoration plan should involve the removal of the discussed construction debris and then planting of shrubs in an area of about 2,500 square feet towards the top of the slope near the quote unquote summer house. And that should be submitted by what, March 15th? 6 weeks? Where are we?
It's our schedule.
I'm open to the date. So I'll say at March 15th. If someone wants to make a motion to amend that date, happy to
Yeah.
do that.
We have the
That's my
schedule.
mo- that's my
here, so
motion.
let's-
You think, what about just people?
I'll second it.
Thanks, David.
I mean, you still have time, doesn't,
March 12 would put us in the territory of attending the March 20th meeting for a
Okay.
follow-up.
I'll say March 12th because that's almost 2 months. That should be
Yeah.
enough time. David White seconded, I believe.
Yes.
hold on a second.
I don't have a
Can you
dog.
state your name and address?
John Earls, 47 Marsh Street.
Thank you.
By wanting a restoration plan, when I think of a plan, I think of a drawing. Is that the kind of a plan you want?
No, this is a narrative. We want a plan of the slope and a narrative of the actions that'll be taken.
A plan of the slope in a drawing?
Drawing
showing
of the slope.
Limits of plantings, limits of no removal, limits of Japanese knotweed and all this stuff. Something that shows what can and can't be removed every 2 years or 3 years. My limits this way. Is that the kind of a plan you want?
That'd be great.
Okay, that was very unclear in that whole conversation.
Yeah, so it's hard to get into super detail during the meeting. When David Morgan can answer these questions, but you're gonna need to hire somebody, and that person has probably put a plan together before. So usually when David talks to the consultants, they understand what's going on. So
So David will meet the consultant.
we'll
Or
meet
talk
them,
over the
call,
phone or
we'll
something.
talk, yeah.
Okay.
But
I
the
just-
plan should give enough information, just like any plan, to understand what you're going to do.
I bet a bright shiny new dime that she didn't know what limits you were talking about, meaning a plan. Someone's gonna draw that plan, gonna get paid,
Right.
a landscape architect and et cetera, drainage people.
So we're updating the enforcement order, which will have details in it that will help you understand what we're looking for. Okay, and if you have any questions, it'll also have David Morgan's phone number. And you have Sarah to reach out to also, okay?
But
And if I could just add, the plan does not need to be necessarily our land surveyor's stamped plan. We've accepted from property owners using, if they have a survey plan or an old plan of their property that somewhat accurately shows the size of the lot, the shape of the lot, and the different features on the lot, like the pool, this summer house, and where the lake is, that's sufficient for someone to mark up. So it doesn't have to be a expensive architectural plan or surveyed plan.
Right, so we have a
I didn't mean
motion.
to butt in, I was unclear. I assume she was unclear.
No, we appreciate it. Thanks for the question. So we have a motion, we have a second. I'm gonna go to Mike Gildersleeve,
Yes, I agree.
Susan Chapnick,
Yes.
David White,
Yes.
David Kaplan,
Yes.
Ryan McBride,
Yes.
Daniel Stevens.
Yes.
Chuck Tironi says yes. Okay, next step would be David's gonna send that out to you in the mail. If there's any questions about the detail that you need to bring back to the Conservation Commission, please reach out to David. Or you can email David and Sarah at the same time, and we'll all be able to help you, okay? Now, thank you for coming tonight. Okay, moving on to our next agenda item, I'm gonna bring back up to the top, the certificate of compliance, request for 1165 R Massachusetts Avenue. And,
I can pull that up, share the screen and stuff.
yeah, who do we have here? I can't read.
That's Daniel St. Clair. Is he still on?
Yeah,
There he is.
Daniel, can you introduce yourself for the record and anybody who's here with you to discuss this matter?
I'm here by myself, but Daniel St. Clair, Spalding and Slaw Investments were the owner of the subject property.
So we've been back and forth a few times on the easement regarding land underwater and bank at 1165 R Mass Ave, i.e. Brider Brook. We got a few comments from commissioners at the last meeting on this topic, and those have all been addressed in Daniel's latest draft. So I can walk you through those, and Daniel, please just jump in. Don't wait for me to stop if you need anything clarified or want me to restate something, what have you. So Nathaniel had requested that the Town of Arlington Conservation Commission be named in full rather than just the town as party to the easement. That's been addressed. Meets and bounds were also requested. Those are added. They're at the end of the document. There's a reference to them here. This section in the purpose that was added pertains to the gaining the permission of the commission to conduct activities beyond maintenance. And then further down, there is another clarification that maintenance is to be conducted on stormwater infrastructure, clarifying this section about the work that can be performed within the easement without permission of the commission, I believe. And then scrolling back up quickly, there was a line about drinking water supply in here that wasn't relevant, so that's been removed. I believe that's it. Here is the section farther below that includes meets and bounds. So there's one for the stream easement area and then one for the bank.
So the stream and the banks have the same verbiage,
Right there.
basically, except the different meets and bounds, obviously, because they're.
Yep. And, you know, unless.
David, there's that other exhibit that's the PDF. That is the exhibit A, I believe.
Yeah.
Can you put that up?
Got the map.
So exhibit A was the map that was previously submitted. I don't have it handy. Just.
That's all right.
pull this up.
That didn't change.
It did not change. All we did was take the hatched areas of the stream easement area and the bank easement area and put detailed meets and bounds to those, put those meets and bounds into a separate exhibit. So those two relate to each other.
Great.
Daniel Stevens?
Thanks. Yes, I've reviewed the revisions. Daniel, thanks very much for making those. They look good, although I did not check the meets and bounds, needless to say. But other than that, it looks good, and I make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance.
Hey, a second. Well, wait a minute. We're not issuing a certificate of compliance. We had 3 steps to this process.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
It needs to be
This one is approved,
approve this tonight. It's going to be
Okay.
recorded, and then we're issuing the certificate of compliance.
because it
That's
has
right.
to be recorded.
So I think
yeah.
we
Yeah,
would give.
thanks. Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve this so that it can be recorded.
Great. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
David White,
Yes.
David Kaplan,
Yes.
Brian McBride,
Yes.
Mike Gildersgame,
Yes.
Susan Chapnick,
Yes.
Daniel Stevens,
Yes.
Chuck Troni says yes. Okay. If you can get us a recorded document by our next meeting, we will, as we almost did tonight, issue a certificate of compliance.
We'll do, and I'll coordinate with David. Thank you all. And David, thank you for the extra effort to help us get this done.
Okay, and thanks for your patience.
Thank you. Have a good
Absolutely.
evening.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is just an update from Mike Gildersgame on 40 Park Ave.
Yes, glad to do that. Pursuant to discussions at an earlier meeting, I met with the representative of the owner and the environmental company that they've hired on site at 40 Park. And they just, I'll start off by saying they plan to submit their plan, their restoration plan by the time we are ready for our February 26th meeting. And we'll be back for the March 6th meeting as well. And they're looking forward to getting feedback from the commission about those issues that brought them to the commission. I was hoping to share with you a video of the site, but that does not seem to be happening. So I will try to, I don't know how I can show this to anybody.
You
but
could sign into
You
the
could
meeting.
sign into the Zoom
and then
link.
I
share
tried
screen.
that already and it didn't seem to work, but I've had some problems with the computer.
Can you just cast to the screen, David? You know if that's available here?
No, one day.
Can you email it to David?
The problem is that where I started from, it's over 25 megabytes.
Oh,
And I
and you
can't-
can't Zoom, you can't connect via Zoom.
I can't save it or send it, so.
And
all I
you
can-
tried your Zoom?
I tried all kinds of things.
Is it on the web? So is it on our?
How about, Mike, how about logging into the meeting remotely, turn off
That's
your
what I'm trying to do.
your
I'm gonna
microphone
do
and then
it
share
now.
screen,
Do it.
maybe?
Hold on, I think I can do it now.
Or Google Drive even.
Yeah. You put it in Google Drive, just send a link and email that link to.
He's trying to get in.
Yeah.
I thought he couldn't log into Google. Was
Yeah,
the-
it's just a little slow. Hold on a second. Do you want to
There you
come
are,
back?
there you are. It's connecting.
It is connecting.
Chuck, is there something
Yeah,
else we
he's
can take
got
up
it.
while we do that? Okay.
Well, I've got it. So now what I want to do is share my
Absolutely.
screen. I can share my screen, maybe.
Yep.
And I just gotta find out where that darn thing is now.
It's not in photos.
It's not in photos, it's a movie.
Okay, yeah.
It might be in there.
Mike, I'm just gonna,
Yeah, skip ahead.
Here we
I'm
go.
gonna skip ahead. I'm gonna ask for a CPA report from Brian McBride.
Yeah,
Here's
go right
one.
ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, we're coming up on two CPA public meetings, the 23rd and the 30th, where the
Oh, there it is.
presenters. Oops,
No,
back to you.
no.
Okay,
Finish.
finish. Finish. Yeah, the applicants will make their presentations. There'll be two nights of that, about 2 or 3 hours each. And then sometime in February, there'll be a vote on which projects are accepted and which maybe limitations are placed on those projects. So coming up soon.
So the vote for the final approval is
It's
February.
sometime in February. They haven't picked a date yet, but sometime in February. I expect early February.
Any questions on the CPA liaison report?
If you'd like, I can send you a link to the project proposals. Folks want to look at them.
I would love that.
Yeah,
Just
why
to,
don't
Yes,
you know,
please do that.
understand.
Send that
Yes,
to, distribute
thank
that to the
We'll
commission.
do.
All right, moving back to
Moving
Mike
back.
Gildersleeve.
Okay. 40 Park Avenue. This is behind, and what I will do is show this and stop as we go through this
Yeah.
description. This ramp and that door that you see, the garage door, is in active use by the owner. And the question that he raised as part of meeting the requirements of the commissioner, can that remain as is, or does it need to be altered? Removed, replaced. That was one question that they had that I wasn't able to answer on site at the time. So that's something we'll need to look into.
that's kind of a failing concrete ramp.
Well, it seems to still be in
Okay,
use and
okay.
sturdy enough for whatever they're using it for.
Okay,
So
But
they did
No
mention
risk.
they wanted to take it down.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna do
What
it.
changed their mind?
Mhm.
well, they still need the youth to use it. And if they were to take it down, it would be a matter of just replacing it.
With something. Mhm.
And with a different construction.
Yeah.
And they want clarification on what they could do.
It was their suggestion. That thing has been there a while.
Yeah.
Hundreds of years.
Predates the enforcement. So I think the answer is yes. We'd like to get as much vegetation around it as possible,
Right.
but still allow it to maintain its use.
So as you can see, this was the area where things were torn up and removed, vegetation removed. This downspout is going to be replaced by a dry well, so it's no longer going to be moving towards the stream. The erosion control measures that are there seem to be in good shape and are doing their job. That area across the stream is an area that they also will be working on to revegetate with plants that we approve as a commission. And you can see all the debris there that's going to have to be removed.
So, Mike, on that area across the stream, is that to the top of slope or not even that far? And what's the width
With of
this
The
new
restoration.
proposed work across
Yeah.
the stream?
this is all owned by the owners of the, I guess it's a pizza place behind on Mass Ave. This store that you see the back of the front of it is on Mass Ave. And the folks at 40 Park have taken the responsibility of doing all the work here. I
Okay,
don't know exactly what the dimensions of that area are at this
okay,
point.
we'll see the plan, I guess, when we.
Yeah. So that whole area over there is going to get redone. Now, the question they had here, these two stumps of these old trees there, they wanted guidance in terms of should they be removed as they're replanting or should they just stay? And again, that wasn't something I was sure of at the time, but they were looking for guidance from the commission on that. And if they're going to be removed, are there additional erosion control measures that are going to be required? So that was another issue. One of the bigger issues though is parking. And as you can see, they have, they have a lot of area here between the stream and the property line is on the other side of that white vehicle, well into the asphalt. So they have put up these cones, which obviously are not doing their job in terms of preventing parking. But they are looking for an interim solution to, as part of their restoration plan, they're going to do some structural changes here so that they can prohibit parking. But at the moment, they're looking for some interim parking restrictions. That they'll have to put up some structures, I think, in prevent people from parking there. As I mentioned, they are going to be providing a draft of the restoration plan prior to the February 26th meeting, and look forward to a discussion with the commission in terms of any edits or recommendations on that.
Sure. If you're done,
Yeah.
that was great, and I really like the video. But Nathaniel's got his hand up, and we're gonna let Nathaniel speak. But I want to address the stumps, Nathaniel, if you can. I don't know if you can speak about that.
Yep, that was my first comment was, my vote would be to leave those stumps in because the roots are probably large and to pull them out is going to create more bank instability, but and they'll eventually just rot away as the new plantings come in. So my suggestion would be to leave those in. As in terms of the parking, it's up to them to design something to keep people from parking there. As a short-term measure, we'll see what their long-term plan shows, but short-term, clearly they need to do something more than cones, it looks like.
Right.
Thanks. Those are my comments. And thank you again. The video is helpful. I agree. Thanks.
Up to the property line, which is sort of several yards beyond that white vehicle. I also believe, and I'm not entirely sure, that they own that new gym that's over there, so that they do own all that asphalt as well. So there shouldn't be any difficulty in setting up some kind of parking
Restrictions there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions from commission members? Seeing none, I have a question. I have a comment. So I'm concerned about the stumps. I think we should grind them down. These areas are rat inhabitant areas. I think if they grind them down, we're maintaining the root system and we're getting rid of the rat condo.
Yeah.
I also would suggest, and I know we can't put it in this enforcement order, but we want to ask this property owner if he can stop using rodenticides. And there's two new things. We have rodenticide, and then there's, I can't think of the name of it, but there's a shock trap now, which seems to be what is being recommended because, what's the other one? It's about
The other one is,
reproduction.
it's birth control, basically.
Yeah, but what is it called? Anyways, that's not working, and I've been told it doesn't work well near water because they have to take a sip every day, and only in dry areas is this happening. So there's a lot of problems with, did you get the name yet? I know Susan's looking for it.
I'm looking for it. Well, they're just giving me-
Contrapest.
Yeah, contrapest.
There's a lot of problems with the contrapest in areas that have water, and of course, we're looking at a stream. So I would suggest seeking alternatives rather than using rodenticides in this area, but that's a conversation. It's not part of this enforcement.
Yeah, there are other products as well, so I don't know if they're all the same. It's worth looking into.
So I don't recall if there's a rat infestation problem as part of their enforcement.
No, it's not, but I'm saying I would allow grinding the stumps. Because you know, my experience is this is that habitat for rats and mice and all that, and we don't want to create an area for a burrow. All right,
Okay.
as a matter of fact, if you looked
So-
around the edge of the pond in the bank there, you'd probably see some burrows.
But, so the idea is get rid of those stumps one way or the other.
Not, you cannot excavate.
No.
No,
Grind them or
In place, yeah.
in place.
yeah, just
And the root
grind them
systems,
down,
yeah.
or I don't know what else they would do, but you
Right.
could grind them down.
That's fine.
And as far as the prevent, I think they need to start thinking about a guardrail or something like that. I don't know if rocks would work. It looks like there's some rocks straight down the end of that picture there that probably been pushed around a little bit, so a nice wooden guardrail would be something that they could do with their construction
Right.
crew.
And a wooden guardrail might be a nice idea anyway, because they're gonna restore this whole area, so they don't want people trampling it as they're restoring it, so maybe
Right.
some nice wooden guardrail would protect the area as well, and also prevent people from.
And like, you wanna work into your conversation that we're concerned about snow removal, no dumping in
yeah.
the stream. And we don't see it here, we don't see evidence of it here, but it always happens. And the
Right,
guardrail will prevent that.
okay. I will pass along. to
Yeah,
those
this is
folks.
great, yeah.
All
yeah.
right,
Okay,
Thanks, Mike.
any other comments on this?
So they're going to be submitting, if they're at the 26th meeting, when do they need
Yes.
to submit by? If somebody has that list.
There.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm just
I just
gonna-
wanted to get that on the record, just so Mike can make sure
Look at that.
he watches that.
What was the date?
The
We want-
20, the
February
meeting on the
26th.
26th of February, so when do they need to submit by?
So we have a February 20th meeting, and they would have to submit by
Oh, but maybe they were gonna submit by the 26th and.
the 12th.
they are planning to
Yes.
come in.
Oh, okay, okay, so what's the meeting in March?
Meeting in March is the 6th and the 20th. Yeah, so the submittal date is the 26th.
Oh, okay, so they're submitting by the 26th, and they'll be here on March 6th, got it, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, we're gonna move on to, is there a tree, for a tree
Yes.
on, tree committee report? So there's, Franco?
There was a meeting yesterday. And, a grant, the good news is a grant was awarded to a project that was, submitted by both the planning department and David, our own David, to address, low equity canopy. The money award was $125,000. The project is intended to target planting in East Arlington. 200 trees are going to be planted, 200 trees are going to be taken care of. And this will consist, this planting will be the spring planting for this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Is this on the public roadway, or how do they find their locations for these 200 trees?
I don't know.
Okay.
But.
But David probably knows.
Yeah, David
Yes.
seems to know.
Yes.
There are 5 census block groups in East Arlington that are, I take that back, it's 4, that are designated environmental justice neighborhoods.
Mhm.
It's spread out, they're not contiguous, and they don't make any sense in terms of neighborhoods that I could describe because it's the census. It doesn't correlate to anything that we experience in the day to day.
So they're gonna go in the front of the EJ communities. Okay.
Yeah, throughout, but it's a patchwork of different blocks throughout East Arlington. And I would say it's mostly north of Broadway, but also close to the center, from like Spy Pond to the center, and then north, and then actually like the northeasternmost quadrant of East Arlington, I would say, is the 4th.
So when they're planting the trees, I don't know which one is gonna know the answer. We're not asking permission. These are going in the tree row. It's the town's
Yeah,
land. And
street
so
trees.
it's gonna be a quick.
Yeah.
Do you know what
200
trees they're
great.
planting? Are they gonna try to plant just natives? Because sometimes they don't.
Don't know.
I'm gonna meet
I
with
mean,
Tim
Good questions.
I'm meeting with Tim McQueen, the tree warden, on Wednesday of next week to talk about particulars.
Great.
So I'll know more after that.
Yeah, so you might wanna check to see if any of those areas are within our jurisdiction.
Oh, hey, certainly, yeah.
Okay,
Tree department will do all the planning, town employees will do the watering. There might be money for an additional watering rig and overtime for town employees to do the watering, which is the biggest issue. If the trees don't get watered, then they die.
for all employees or just DPW employees?
Tree division.
Yeah.
I asked that for you.
Oh, okay.
But I have a question.
That's it.
Aren't these trees also, at least some of them, supported by the homeowners who are adjacent to those trees? There's a program that the tree folks have where the homeowners or property owners take on the responsibility of watering them.
Yes.
Adopt
But
a
I
tree.
don't-
Mhm.
Yes,
What was that, David?
Adopt a tree.
Adopt a
Yes.
tree.
Tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is, if that's gonna be included at all as part of that project.
great questions. I don't know.
She said they were buying another watering,
Yeah, they're, yeah.
Well, in addition to that, you could get homeowners.
adopt a tree,
Right.
yeah.
I think that's always part of the plan.
Okay,
I adopted.
okay, well, that was pretty exciting. 200 trees in East
That's
Arlington.
awesome.
in the EJ
200, yep,
community.
Awesome.
I
And
love
if you plant natives, then you might need less watering.
Well, you need it the first couple of years. to
First
get
couple of
us-
years to get them established, but then after that, they often don't need as much as
Right.
ornamental or.
Okay, so I'm gonna take the last thing off our agenda, and move that down to the end. That's the discussion about the vice chair's term. Because, it's been pointed out to me, and I've noticed at this moment, that no one's here from BSC. I don't see Dom, I don't see Stephanie, and we did have a correspondence that I reached out to David about and said, what was his interpretation of that? And that was one where Stephanie said, if you don't get the information before Thursday, then they'll assume to continue. I think it was fairly cryptic and we didn't get the message, but we're getting the message tonight because no one's here from BSC. So I'm not going to listen to any debate or discussion, but I think we should just continue this to our next meeting.
I'll make a motion to continue to our next meeting
Yeah.
on February 6th.
6th, yep. I have a second.
Second.
Was that David-
White
Dave
is
Kaplan?
recused,
David.
Brian McBride
Yes.
and Mike Gildisgang.
Yes.
And let me just go. Nathaniel Stevens.
Yep.
David Kaplan.
Yes.
Susan, did I see you?
You did not.
Susan
I-
Chapnick.
Yes,
And Chuck Tironi says yes. Okay, sorry about that. We just noticed it. I know you're all here for Thorndike, but
They didn't show.
no updates.
February
right,
6th.
February sixth.
February 6th.
We can't talk?
No.
We're done.
Sorry.
We're not holding a hearing on.
You can't hold the hearing without the applicant.
Yep.
They didn't
Sorry.
The
show.
applicant meaning Thorndike, whatever they are?
BSC,
Right.
well, and the applicant's representative.
And they can just not show without any notice?
Well, they did send an email, and like I was explaining, I had reached out to David about it and I said, did you see this email and have you heard any follow-up on it? And it talked about if we didn't receive our consultant's report by last Thursday, which is our deadline or whatever our submittal deadline was, then they would, I don't know if they said continue, but they would consider continuing. But I know that they said it will get back to us.
When you say deadline, what do you mean by deadline?
So we have submittal deadlines on the agenda or on our website that tells people when they need to submit additional material.
What's today a deadline?
No.
Before.
So the deadline for this meeting, which is the 16th, was was the 8th? It was the 8th.
The applicant did submit their materials. The issue is we have a peer reviewer who said to us they would need more time to review the changes. And without that information, we then asked the applicant do you want to continue? And unfortunately, the email chain was unclear. So we had to still notify that there was a hearing, because that's required by law. And then they didn't show, because I think they assumed it would be continued because our peer reviewer did not submit the review yet.
Okay.
The town's peer reviewer, I'm just trying to explain.
Who's the
Yeah, I know,
peer
but we've
reviewer
done this
work
already.
for? The applicant or the town?
Works for the town.
Okay, and this peer reviewer, dug the test pits, monitored the test pits?
No, has nothing to do with the test pits. They're just reviewing the stormwater information and reports that's being done by BSC.
Okay, so
So we've closed the hearing, okay? The discussion can happen at our next hearing. You know,
Could this happen again?
we're waiting for the consultant to review the new plan that was submitted by BSC and get the Conservation Commission that review, so we can look at it and talk about, you know, where we are at this point in the application's review. Sounds, how many times I say review?
There's no guarantees or commitments, so this is
This is
flexible.
how it is with public meetings. We have rules, they can use those to their benefit, and so can the commission. So this seems to me that it was something that we should have followed up on, and we just thought they were coming tonight. There's really no harm with continuing the meeting. So we're all interested in this. We need the information to make a decision, and it should be here shortly. We were told the 26th, right? When are we getting this information? I have it written down.
Yeah, the peer reviewer has promised the information by the 26th. I
Yeah.
communicated that to the applicant and asked if they wanted to continue. They never responded.
Will
And
the
their
next one be
prior,
public perhaps, like this is public?
I don't mind having hybrid meetings. Does anyone else mind going from now hybrid meetings? This is quite comfortable, you know? I believe we'll keep the same seating arrangements. You guys are not invited on the screen.
No, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Chuck.
Yeah. No, well, for once, there's plenty of rooms for plans.
Yeah, right,
So-
yeah.
If I may, that little woman that was here first, Mystic Street, whatever, the Knockweed.
Louise.
May I speak with you, David? She showed me the letter from you. I was an engineer for 45 years, land surveyor for 38 years, construction inspector, the whole bit, okay? It's kind of like in my blood. I'm gonna take a copy of her plot plan from her bank or her mother's bank, who bought the house. I'm gonna sketch on that the tops of the slope, the pile of debris that's there, the pool house, all of this stuff, a path down to the water. I'm gonna do this. I'm not licensed or anything. I'm gonna prepare for her some sort of a willy-nilly document that'll show her house and where the lines of growth and whatever are. I asked her that if I prepare this for her, can she email it to you? And can you redline it for her a little bit to give us a little help, what you exactly want?
showing the areas that.
Yeah.
affected. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and that way there, I can work with her to get this done, hopefully before she has a buyer lined up. Because I'm sure this document that we prepare, this document, will have to be handed over to the new buyer at some point in time. This is rule, something,
Yeah,
correct? I'm trying to help her out.
That's nice.
you're doing a great job.
No, I'm not doing anything yet, but.
I appreciate it, but I'd like to get on with my meeting.
Yeah,
Can you
okay.
reach out to David tomorrow? He's in till 12.
You know, I'm
Okay.
not gonna, she's gonna do the reach, I'm gonna do the sketch.
Well, it seems like you were just asking him questions on what's needed.
Yeah, well, it's,
You got what you need?
the letter was from David to her. I'm assuming she can echo that back to you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for, and she's
Yeah.
good.
And if you
Thanks.
do have public comment on Thorndike, you can send it at any time via email to David.
I've done
And it
many
will
of
get
them.
posted, but
Susan,
come here again for the next
Susan,
meeting.
we're gonna
I'm
move
the
on with the
squeaky
meeting,
wheel.
all right? This is gotta, you guys gotta,
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night.
all right?
Good night.
Good night.
And I have a rule in 2025, 95% of the talking is from the chair.
So.
Any second? Oh, the hearing
Yeah.
none.
Second, yeah.
I will
Okay,
say,
all
I will
right.
say, Chuck, that when you have hybrid meetings, there's going to be more back and forth.
I was
Because when you
considering, and I don't want to get
have
off on
people
something,
here,
because I'd
it
like
is
to
what it
end
is.
before 8:30.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about Susan. So Susan, when I was elected chair, and Susan said she was elected vice chair, she only wanted to stay on to the year, and that was a promise that we made to the Conservation Commission. We feel strongly about this promise. So we're bringing it up tonight because a year has passed, and Susan is perfectly happy staying on as vice chair. If there's no one else that wants to step up into that position, but if someone does want to step up into that position, because our new policy, or something that we did discuss, is that we want to have everyone, move in and move up. But the first step is to be the vice chair. And then you serve 2 years in that spot, and then you move up into the chair's position. So with that, are there any members of the Conservation Commission that would feel like they have the time? And there's a lot of time commitment. We have several meetings, and it's a lot of time commitments. And we're always available for more. As you know from Susan's side business there. So many hours. So I'm not hearing anyone
Nathaniel's
stepping
so
up.
happy he's not doing it anymore. I can see you
I was gonna
smiling
say,
over
I'm not
there.
jumping up. Yes. I wouldn't want to stand in the way of anyone else.
Let me
So
put
no,
it this way. Can I
if
have
no
a
one else is
motion?
interested, I was gonna vote to have Susan
Yeah,
be the
can I have a
vice chair
motion?
again. But I don't want to,
Can someone
know.
nominate themselves or make a motion, please? Nathaniel.
I make a motion that Susan remain as vice chair.
And Susan, would this be, this would be.
I'll
just a
second that
one-year
before she
thing,
gets able to say no.
Okay, I would say make it another year just so that we're both in sync.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be kind of strange if
Okay,
it
so
was
this
a
is a
2-year
motion
and then you were.
for Susan to be the vice chair for 1 year. Okay.
And sorry, just point of clarification, how long? When do we get to vote on Chuck? I can't remember. More seriously.
Next year.
Next year. Okay. Did we decide 2 years?
It was a
years.
2-year.
Okay, great. Good. No, that's good. Thanks.
Should I,
Yeah, should you be wearing?
should I
Yeah,
think of what
maybe.
that meant?
Yeah, just yeah. Maybe think about it. No, you're doing a great job. So keep it up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Mike Kilsking,
Yeah.
Susan Chapnick,
Yes.
David White,
Yes.
David Kaplan,
The work is very appreciated. Yes.
Thank you.
Brian McBride.
Yes, and thank you, Susan.
Who you got?
I
Did you ask
forgot
Nathaniel?
that
Yeah.
commissioner's name. Nathaniel
Yeah.
Stevens.
Yeah, Susan's doing a
No
good
longer
job.
Someone
Yeah.
I remember. And Chuck Teroni says
Yeah.
yes. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Have
All
a
in
good
favor,
weekend,
say
everyone.
aye.
Bye.
Good
night.
Ciao. Bye.
Unanimous.
How about the water bodies budget?
Ah, damn.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
next
That was
meeting.
a whole
Oh,
big thing
wait.
we were supposed to
Ah.
do.
Oh.
You forgot. You've got to.
it's 29.9.
All right, I reinstate the meeting. Do we have to motion to do this, or we just move forward, Nathaniel?
Oh, I don't know. I think if no one's left, we're fine. You took a vote though, didn't you? Yeah, motion to reopen the meeting.
Yeah. Can I get a
Second.
second?
Second.
Yes.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All right, we get a quorum here. All right, David.
Go for it, David.
David, yeah.
Okay. Every year, the town allocates funds to manage the town's water bodies, basically to manage them and to monitor them and so on. And this is approved by the town meeting. We have the budget here, shared by David here. So last year, can you show the full table, David?
Do you want FY 24?
Maybe 25 and 26.
25 and 26.
Yeah. That would be the most helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe scroll up a little bit. No, not that part, the whole window. Do that. Should still the whole table?
Can't see
Okay.
the whole table. I think it's just the aspect ratio.
So those total expenses, can you see total expenses? And
Yeah.
balance?
Yeah, it's down there. We can see it.
We can
Yep.
see it.
Okay, very good. So last year, we asked for 120, we got 85. And this fiscal year, we have expenses in order of 27,000 for Spy Pond, 68,000 plus for reservoir, I think falls 2 harvesting sessions. This coming June and last June. Hills Pond, McLennan, and then encumbered basically represents Spy Pond that's likely to happen this fiscal year. The total for this fiscal year is 111,000, let's say. That's where we are in the current fiscal year. Any questions about that part of it?
I never understand what encumbered means, but I understand that there's always something there. Can you explain it in layman's terms in one sentence?
We contracted with SWCA for management of Spy Pond. The contract amount was the full 35,000, give or take. And so we're looking at
8,000
27
less.
and
Okay.
8
Is the
is
difference.
35.
Got it.
So
Okay.
it's basically the remainder of their contract. That's the one.
But if they don't use it, does it roll over or not?
We
if
will
we
use
don't-
it in the spring for, we will use these funds in the spring of this year. Of
Okay,
calendar
so that's
year
still
25.
2025. Okay.
Whether or not SWCA continues as our vendor, because we have to rebid that contract
Okay.
next month. So we're gonna roll those funds over to Spy Pond and use that for this spring treatment more than likely.
Got it. Thank you.
So the big overspend was on Spy Pond, water chestnut.
No. The biggest amount of money is the reservoir. There was no overspend.
Oh, sorry, the reservoir, look at
Yeah,
my
he
line.
said water
Okay.
chestnut.
And that's
About the
really just,
basis.
it wasn't an overspend. Really what it is it's getting everything aligned to 1 year.
In the
Because we
proper,
always do the-
years.
Right, we always do the treatment in June,
Mhm.
but sometimes the bill doesn't
It's
go
right near
out
the
till
end of the
July.
year. Gotcha.
So this actually is
Spillover.
2 sets of treatments. It's the treatment in fiscal year 2024 June
Okay,
and the one we expect this June.
okay.
So we're
Yeah.
trying to get back in alignment with the years.
Back in the
Which is
line,
More like
yes.
45,000 than it. Okay.
Exactly. That's why we're only asking for 45,000.
Got it.
Got it,
Thank you.
okay, yeah. Which is more than the 27,500 because we're looking at upping to 3 weeks of harvesting rather than the 2 weeks because we wanna keep doing the management a little more efficient, a little better, more of the pond. Yeah.
Thanks, Susan.
Is that right, David? Did I
Yes,
get that
and
right?
that's basically, and also it's okay, it leaves us about 32,000 to start next fiscal year. 3282. That's our starting point.
That's the ending balance row.
Yeah. And up there on the FY26 budget, you see 32 and above, they're asking for 95,000 this coming fiscal year. So actually with $10,000 more, just maintain their activities. And then going down to the categories, you have Spy Pond, 45,000, which 3 weeks of harvesting. Okay, I'm sorry, Spy Pond. That's regular for Spy Pond, basically 45,000. We have plenty to spend this last year. Then
And
down,
it also has the 10,000 for the Phragmites, right?
that's
That's in there. That's why it's a little more.
So, and I took another look at that. It's only 3,000 for Phragmites and then cost, basically contingency for inflation, et cetera,
Oh, okay,
other contingencies. So
got it,
there's a little bit of,
a cushion there, huh?
yeah.
got it.
Cushion there.
Is
reservoir,
3,000 enough for Phragmite? Okay,
Yeah, we got a quote.
that was my only question. Yep, move on, please.
Phragmites, we're talking about 3 weeks of harvesting, which is about 41,000, plus monitoring is about 3,000. So that gives us up to about 45,000 with the reservoir. And Hills Pond, that's what the request was from the Friends group based on the continuing the contract. We put a little bit in for McLennan and also a little bit for contingency, which brings us to a total expenditures $100,020. Which reduces-
What do you, McLennan, what do you expect to do for $1,000?
Maybe some
I
plantings.
see that. Buffer zone funding.
It's signage and plantings.
Signage, I put the signs up too. Put the buffer zone signs up.
Emergent,
Bare root, like,
yeah, probably.
okay.
Okay.
You get some, you'll get some.
So this is our budget, town budget, but we also, other monies are being used for our water bodies. And I'm just going to list a few here. Basically, we have $40,000 grant, CPA grant for McLennan ponds. We have Millbrook CPA grant of $120,000. A no-name grant, $20,000. And other things as well, which I'll basically, we could talk about that more, but basically the point is that we're getting much more money on our water bodies than the budget shows. And this is just what we pay people to do out of the town budget. Are there
Thank you,
questions?
David. It looks good.
No, is there any questions?
Looks good.
No, looks good. Thanks, David White, for leading that effort, and other
And
folks
David
on
Morgan too, and Susan.
and David.
Thanks,
And-
Susan, for.
Yeah,
Carolyn
it's
too.
it's amazing how far we've gotten in what 15 years. Yeah, in terms of money and efforts. So that's great.
Yeah, and
Quick
also,
question, does the machine, the water chestnut machine make any more sense as more is spent on contractors? Is it getting to
In
the?
terms of buying it, we
Yeah.
could try that again, but there's just been so much pushback from DPW.
They need an operator, which they don't
Yeah.
have.
a lot of pushback.
What is the issue? That we can't provide that summer help didn't work and they need a DPW operator?
They never even wanted to look at it, really. I mean, it's just, every time we bring it up, we can try again at FinCom, because I think it makes sense.
The more we spend, the more that
Right,
machine makes sense.
But, and
It's
we've
also-
been doing this for how
also
many
best-
years? But
It's also best done in June. That's before the summer season or summer.
Yeah, I think DPW is concerned about the maintenance. I mean, it's just another
Probably
large
should.
piece of equipment they need to store, and then it's not used for 10 months out of the year. So
It's-
it's just,
It doesn't
I don't
really
know.
snow.
Okay.
anyways.
Okay.
David, are you
Okay.
looking for a motion? Do we need to approve this?
One
Yes.
more thing I'm going to say, basically, we hope that with the ongoing efforts of harvesting, we can reduce the harvesting costs in future years. If the seed bank builds up, and Mystic River has been very successful reducing the seed bank in the Mystic River. I think there's a possibility of things improving in the future, just not right away, but in the future.
right, which is another justification for doing 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks,
Yes,
to up it, to get more of the seed bank.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's historically, when I first got on the commission, we did a full harvest of Spy Pond, and then I think the following year it was maybe a third, and then nothing for several years. I think, right, David White?
reservoir,
Isn't
yes.
Reservoir.
The reservoir. Sorry, yes, reservoir. Thank you. For the water chestnuts. So
Plant control technology did a very good job, and it was actually
Yeah.
down to nothing. Then we let it go.
Right. yeah,
Hmm.
I'll make a motion to approve this budget request. I guess is that the way to say
Yeah.
it?
We present it to the FinCom, and they approve it or
Yeah.
not.
Right,
I'll
but we
second.
endorse it. Yeah.
Well, second.
Okay.
I
Oh,
think
we have 2 seconds.
we got,
Right.
Oh.
I think you got it. I think you got it, Brian.
I get a prize?
Yeah.
No,
So I'll just go right to,
Do you have a question, Sarah?
Not for this, for something else.
Okay,
Okay.
let's.
Yeah.
right to David Kaplan. So,
Yes.
yeah, David says yes. Let's say Mike Gildersgame,
Yes.
Susan Chapnick.
Yes.
Nathaniel Stevens,
Yes.
David White,
Yes.
and Chuck Troni says yes. Skip anyone?
Yes.
And Brian McBride says
Late
says
yes.
yes. A late yes from Brian. Gotta keep up, Brian. Come on. Getting late.
Quick question, I
Sure.
promise to be 30 seconds or less. Is it, and could we consider putting some of these recordings public, on a public, forum like ACMi? The recording,
Hey, is Sean here in the audience?
Sean,
Yeah,
Sean, it's.
usually takes the recordings
Did-
from me.
Are they
I
public?
don't know if they air or not, but I assume that was the purpose of the
I
request.
will follow up.
Okay.
Okay, no, I just wanted.
All right.
That's a way to
So
turn
you
off
did.
viewers. Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Go to sleep.
David Kaplan, not to put you on the spot, but at a future meeting, could you update us on your program management of Spy Pond and SWCA? I'd love to, I really appreciate you staying on top of that, and I'd love to hear how it's going.
Sure. Yeah, no, I've had some initial conversations with David Morgan, and I'm meeting with Carolyn and Brad to go over the last RFP and to see if we can add anything that may have been missed over the last year or two during SWCA's work. So,
Great.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Dave,
No
I
problem.
sent Brad a brand new one for this year, so you can work from a 2025 version that's somewhat more up to date. So
great. Yeah,
That's
we're gonna
fine.
meet next Thursday, and then if we have Thorndike the following week, then possibly I'd be happy to give an update the subsequent meeting.
Okay, thanks. We'll check with Chuck and David on the agenda.
Yeah,
But
it
I'd
depends
like-
on what's on the agenda.
But
Okay,
yeah.
sure. Yep,
Yeah.
anytime.
All right, so the only thing I heard new is that we're gonna have hybrid meetings from now on with the commission. Is that anyone object? Do you object
Well,
to setting
it
this
may
up?
not always work every meeting for David. Does it always work for you to be here or not?
usually,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
I want to put you on the spot.
we can.
No, we do want to put them on the spot. We want to ask the question. Okay.
Let's see how
Yeah,
it goes.
Want to find out if this can happen. It worked out well tonight.
No, it did.
It was, there was a lot of engagement here and people came in.
How many
so it
people
wasn't so
were
hard.
in the room? How many members of the public came?
3.
4.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
5.
Oh, okay, great.
It's the same small room. Like if people come in.
And more on Zoom
it's
though.
not gonna work.
If we have 20 people, that's gonna be a problem.
And I think it also doesn't work if every commissioner shows up also, and I'm not being.
I
funny,
take
I'm
the
saying, like,
hint,
I
Chuck,
always
don't
get worried
worry.
about the size of the table and people
Yeah.
having their back to people and all that.
Right.
So it's not great, and I think if we continue on and everyone shows up, we should look for a different venue.
Yeah.
Yes,
There are other conferences.
like the police station.
Okay, so can we get a motion?
Motion to adjourn. Second
Okay.
time.
Mike
All right.
Gildersgame, all in favor, just say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Good
See you
night,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Right.